What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dell's Den. We're going to be sitting down in the den, speaking with a very special individual. We've been waiting for this sit down, and it's here. It's here. I'm really excited. But we're going to get right into it. During the video itself, during the recording, you're going to end up noticing on my end, it's going to say a completely different name. I don't know how it happened. Somehow my daughter's name ended up getting placed instead of mine on this specific recording, but that's okay. I just wanted to throw that out there if you're watching and you're a little bit confused. I did a little bit of a different style this time when it came to recording, and it's okay. It's okay. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed today's content. Don't forget to check out the Discord and don't forget to subscribe. Only two things that you can do by supporting this type of content, okay? The Discord is popping. It's always hitting up with a lot of Shellhead news and some videos that are coming out, some gameplay. I'm always in there playing something or listening to something. So come on in, hit the Discord. And if you need anything, you want to be able to reach out, the link's not working, whatever that might be, hit me up and I'll get you that proper link. All right. But again, let's get into this very special sit down. And I hope you guys enjoy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dell's Den. We are here with the infamous Sarah. We've been talking back and forth. Clearly I went to Hill Country Comic Con not too long ago. We visited all the voice actors from the 1980s cartoon, and they signed a signature, and I posted it up. And I was not expecting for anybody to comment on that that comic book, that signature that I posted on that picture. And I'm glad that you were able to reach out. I mean, when you saw it, what did you think? I mean, introduce yourself, you know?
Well, hi, I'm Sarah Myer. I'm a variant cover artist and colorist for Saturday Morning Adventures, and as well as an interior colorist and variant cover artist for the upcoming TMNT versus Street Fighter,
Mhm.
and the retail incentive variant cover artist, one of quite a few on Usagi Yojimbo and TMNT Where
Mhm.
When. So I've done a few Turtles projects, two of which are kind of very current right now, coming out. So um
Mhm.
and yeah, when I saw that post that you made about meeting the original four, Rob, Barry, and Townie and Cam, I was so excited just because I've only met Rob Paulson, but I actually haven't been to meet the other three. And I was just very excited because I thought, oh my God, Michael's got SMA, and that's something I worked on. And it kind of, I felt starstruck because when you showed the photo, I thought, wow, that's so exciting. These voice actors are signing something that happens to also have my name as one of the credits at the bottom there. So I was like really just excited to see that. Just as a longtime Turtles fan, that was a starstruck moment for me, living vicariously through you. And I'm so glad that you got to meet them, and I guess thank you for taking that comic to them. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, I think I had messaged you when it first came out. They had no clue that that series has been even
Right.
out. Paulson was like, "What is this?" And he opened it up and he was just like, "They need to bring this back."
Hmm.
He goes, "I love the coloring, I love the artwork, I love everything." I mean, they were all blown away with April at the end. You know, I had to go back to go re-get her signature, a second signature, because I forgot. Oh, she's at the end of the book.
Oh,
And
Renee Jacobs. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And she was more than welcome. She was really surprised. I mean, it's a great piece. It's a great piece. So have you always been working with IDW, or is this something that just kind of like they reached out? Like, I guess talk a little bit about that.
Oh, well, so I've got to say, like, it happened very quickly, and literally within last July, I was when I got the variant cover job for Saturday Morning Adventures, issue number 3, and that's the one right here behind me there with the turtles, and um April and Irma and Vernon driving the Channel 6 news van. And that was my first official Turtles job with IDW. And they had reached out for me to just like do the variant cover art. And
Hmm.
that was great. And I didn't want to get my hopes up. So I went at it thinking this is the first and possibly last, official Turtles job, but this is like a dream come true. And I was just so happy and still am about having been able to do that. And then about, let me think, I think it was like a little bit under a month and a half later, they contacted me again and they said, "Hey, would you like to color, be the colorist on the
Wow.
mini series, so the 4 issues?" And of course I said yes right away and went right to work because the pages had been ready to color. So and I have to say, like, that was I've been a comic artist for years, just you know, um, I guess going to conventions and doing some other things with first, second books. But this was actually my first time not only being a colorist on somebody else's, work.
Hmm.
Because prior to that, I'd worked on graphic novels where I was the writer and the line artist as well as my own colorist, so to speak. So
Okay.
this was my first experience doing anything as a colorist and also my first experience on a monthly comic. So it was like trial by fire really fast, like right into it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'm really glad actually that it did happen so fast because I feel like if it didn't, I would have been like a nervous wreck. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you
Right.
don't want to mess up something that
Yeah.
you love so much. So and it worked out really well. So but that was like a that's one hell of a way to like to have like, okay, this is my first coloring job. And like I was
Right.
joking, kind of like, yeah, no pressure. Like it's only, you know,
Only
a dream
turtles, it's
property. Yeah.
only turtle.
It's only something I've loved since I was really young. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess it could kind of feel definitely intimidating because of all the success that Turtles has come since day one to now,
Oh
and then
yeah.
anything that releases, I anything that releases for me, Turtles wise, I'm always like, well, let's see what this new iteration is. But you guys
Yeah.
have created something fantastic. The coloring on it is like I'm watching the old school show, but more reanimated or recolored, right? So I feel like this is the appropriate step to go when it comes to this series. Like where were your thoughts when you finished the first comic? Like when you were done, like what happened?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you so much for that. That's such a kind compliment about the coloring. And I am so glad that you mentioned that because that really was kind of my approach, to it, because I'm aware that, if you were to look at the original, the 87 cartoon,
Mhm.
it had several different studios that worked on it, that animated it.
Right.
Some of whom I'm sure that the one with Irma becoming a cyborg, that was an example where like that studio, I think that was the Dublin studio. The animation in that is really scratchy, and
Mhm.
the color palette whenever it was animated in Dublin seemed to be very muted. It was almost like a grayish green for the turtles.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
had the sense that that was productivity kind of limitations from the both the time as well as just budget. And
Mhm.
then so I appreciated you mentioning like that it captured the look of the original series, but I did definitely use the digital age to my advantage. I was like, we're not
Right.
limited by what cell paints the studio has. Like
Mhm.
I can like use any color. So I did kind of think of it as almost like, what would I want the 87 cartoon to look like if it had a bigger budget and more time, and if they
Right.
had any colors that they would want. So I kind of gave it like a almost jewel tones. So
Mhm.
it's like Turtles as seen through like an 80s nostalgia lens. Like all
Mhm.
those bright colors that we come to think of as, you know,
Right.
uh nostalgic for the 80s, but like kind of superimposed on the way that the Turtles
Right.
cartoon looks. So but yeah, after the first issue, I was just like, um it was it was so crazy the first day that it came out. It was like October, or was it? Yeah, it was like the right just a few days before New York Comic Con actually. And I went to the store and I saw it, and it was like they must have thought I was crazy because I was like kind of telling everybody who had I was like, I worked on this. This is it. And they were probably like, okay. Like usually they have people who are like, all right, so I'm here scheduled for something like to sign it. And
Yeah.
I was like, I, I'm not lying. I promise I'm the person who colored it. If you want, I'll sign it. And they're probably like, you're insane, you know? But you know, it was really exciting.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, if we go back and kind of talk about the coloring in general, it's just like if you look at the old school cartoon to now, um, there's a big difference what you guys
Mhm.
have created. But as far as like the figures now, they're
Mm.
more lightened to the tone, so it matches what you guys have kind of already created already. So it's great. I mean, it's a great combo. Um, Now clearly you've been continuing the series. You've been traveling on top of all that. How's your experience been with everybody that's been talking about this series?
Oh, they've been really, really friendly and really supportive and very enthusiastic about it, which I really appreciate, you know?
Right.
I think that, and you know, maybe this is still true, but you know, the age old like Simpsons comic book guy sort of thing that
Mhm.
hasn't, I have not encountered any kinds of reactions like that so far. So that's been good. Like nobody like in panel 2, you know, like
Mhm.
Michelangelo's nunchucks are not exactly the same, like, you know, that kind of thing. And if somebody were to ever say that though, I would probably just happily point out like, man, you got to rewatch the cartoon because there was some
Right.
continuity errors, and
Yeah.
all respect to those animators, but like it always had like issues with that, you know, in the
Mhm.
cartoon production. So look, I think everybody's been really like very, very excited and very friendly and positive about it though. So it's been great.
Well, I mean, knowing that the OG voice actors want it to be returned, I mean,
Ah,
that would be crazy if you guys kickstarted some type of stuff like that. Like
that'd be
this
so cool.
started to bring it back. Like that would be amazing.
And you know, credit to Eric's writing, Eric Burnham, because I definitely so in the first issue, there
Mhm.
were a few scenes that I mean, I was like laughing when I was like coloring them because you know, I would read the script, which was separate. You know, they did the lettering after I finished the colors. So I had the script and the dialogue, and I was like, I could totally just the whole time you hear their voices
Mhm.
saying it, you know, and like, just I can't remember what the line. I think it was like Donatello in the go kart in the first issue, and he just like turns to the viewer and he's like, wow, if this was in a comic I'd be really concerned, or it was like, if this wasn't a video game I'd be really concerned right now because he's about to totally wipe out. I'm like, I can 100% hear like in my head Barry Gordon saying that. So if I had got to meet all four of them at a convention or got to see Rob Paulson again, I would probably maybe ask them if they would mind reading a page or something in the voices. It's
That
like,
would
I
be
don't know.
awesome. That
But
would be
at the
awesome.
at the same
But I
time,
do
I'm
know
thinking,
I
you
do
know,
know is the most unique thing that they ended up seeing that day. I mean, clearly they seen plenty of their collectibles, but not one of them. And I felt special on that. You guys have created something where I was like, I want this to be signed. It's correlated with the cartoon, in my opinion. Let's get it signed. And the way that you flip through it, even if you just flip through it, it talks about a lot of the past too. It shows a lot of the characters.
mhm.
There's just so much love that you guys have been able to create out of this comic, this series, and it's just beautiful. And I want to thank you to be able to put your work into it as well.
Thank you. It was just a huge honor to be able to be part of something like that.
So what are we doing? Like, what are you working towards now? Now, clearly, I wish I would have known you earlier. That way, I could have known your work a little bit earlier, right, from the start. But clearly, I know what to look for now. But what are you working on now that you're just like you're really excited for, that you're pumped?
Well, okay, so I wrapped work on uh the Usagi Yojimbo covers, you know, the
Oh
Rare
yeah.
When retail incentive covers. So those are all in the bag, so to speak. And issue number 1 just came out. That's behind me right there. That's my RI cover, but I have 4 more that'll be released, you know, with every monthly release of
Mm-hmm.
that series because it's 5 issues. And then but currently I'm working with IDW as the colorist on TMNT versus Street Fighter, which has been really exciting. And
No.
yeah, I used a different approach too for the colors on that. Um,
Okay.
in that it's actually a painterly. kind of a digital painting style. So you see,
Mhm.
rather than it being the hard cut, cell shading, it's a little bit more rendered and brushed, and you can kind of see some brush strokes a little bit, some texture, but that's really just to sort of match the feel. And also like looking at the way that Capcom, um, a lot of their character art is rendered in a similar way. So
Mhm.
just trying to match that feeling,
Yeah, no, for sure.
and
I
that's
mean,
been
as
really
a
fun.
whole, I mean, everything that you've been able to do, it's great. Again, I could only praise you every single day, every single hour. You're doing a fantastic job. I just want you to be able to know that I'm a big mental health advocate on top of all that. So I like to also give praise where it needs to be given, and I feel that's important for those individuals.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Yeah.
no, you're very much welcome. Um, I guess the only question that I really have is, and I like to ask people who have grown up with turtles and that love turtles, what is turtles meant to you?
Well, so I think my view of what turtles means to me has evolved over the years.
Mhm.
When so I'll tell you when my literally my earliest memories, because I was born in, the mid 80s. So I was very
Right.
young when the cartoon started airing, but I recall like literally some of my earliest memories are watching that cartoon. So it is ingrained in my mind,
Yeah.
And so as just earliest childhood memories, it always just made me smile. It was such a something I always looked forward to. I think to some degree, us 80s and 90s kids can sometimes take those things for granted, But
Mhm.
looking back now through the lens of nostalgia, I realized, man, I'm so lucky to have grown up in that time with all
Yeah.
those, all that entertainment. So there's that, but it also really, I think, awakened in me personally a lot of it was probably one of the first ways that I expressed a more like a sort of gender neutral kind of thing,
Mhm.
like aspect to my personality. Because when I was a kid, I related more to the turtles than I did April, for
Yeah.
example. And so I was a really rambunctious kid, and I would somewhat be a little bit like that kid that all the news programs would warn parents about with Power Rangers and turtles on the reset, the playground. I
Yeah.
got a little bit too rough sometimes, I think, because I just was so enthusiastic about reenacting certain things from Turtles. And then, but as I got older, I realized I think that I identified so much more with the Turtles and other creature type characters like Sonic the Hedgehog and
Mhm.
even, the Little Mermaid. Like, I was obsessed with Ariel the Little Mermaid too. And I
I
realized
love the
they're
Little
not
Mermaid.
humans. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, and I can't wait for that new movie too. But like, yeah, all these non-human characters, I realized I
Mhm.
think that those just had such an appeal to me. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but
No,
it's
you're good, you're good.
in hindsight, I guess if I were to editorialize why I probably latched onto them, I think part of it is because I am a transracial adoptee. So I
Okay.
was one of very few East Asian kids in my school and growing up in a small town that was mostly white. So
Mhm.
I think that in a way, when I saw turtles as a really little kid, I kind of latched onto, oh,
Mm.
they're human in that they have human qualities, but they're raised by this rat father who, it kind of, I think I was almost picking up on some aspects that you can relate to like human families and relationships. It's a blended
Yeah.
family, it's in a way they are transracial adoptees, so I sort of I think that I identified a little bit with that. And then as I got older, I realized that I think I love how they are sometimes, depending on the version, um, depending on the version, it will like delve a little bit more into their hesitancy about, will the humans accept us? Will
Yeah.
society respect us for what we're doing, or do they think
Yeah.
that we're the bad guys? Um,
Right.
and the 87 cartoon didn't always really go into that, but I always felt like that
Right.
was still a subtext. You always still got the sense that they're these quirky sort of, misfits of society in a way.
Yeah.
um, and Donatello's a bit, rewatching as an adult, I'm like, man, Donatello is so he's a bit of a very like pessimistic guy, because he's like, humans, they ruin everything. And I'm like, wow, like so there's some of those conflicts that are present, and I think that that's enmeshed in the fact that the turtles are really there's xenomorphic characters, you know, they're
Hmm.
alien to people, but they're very familiar, and I think that they're the underdogs and people really relate to that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. And very beautiful. A lot of with everything that you ended up kind of tying in together, very beautiful on top of all that. Um, so if somebody was like, I gotta hire her, I gotta get a hold of her. We gotta take her for some work. Where can they find you?
So my main website is just simply sarahmyer.net, sarahmyer.net. And that's where I'll post, you know, news and links to articles and such, as well as just like more static examples of portfolio pieces. But my most up-to-date work can be found on Instagram and to a lesser extent Twitter, with the username at Smyer Comics, SMYER Comics, all one word. And for now, that's really all I got for like
Hey,
online,
it's all good.
you
I
know.
mean, again, with everything that's been going on, I'm pretty sure you're seeing a lot of love, even though that you're just kind of going. But best of luck to you. I just want to say that, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for
Thank you.
giving me the time. I really
Thank you
do.
so much. Yeah, I
No,
really
but
appreciate it.
cowabunga, sir. Cowabunga.
Cowabunga, Michael.